Well, hello there and welcome to another provider member showcase video. Today I have with me the fabulous Vanessa Bennett from Next Evolution Performance. Hi, Ness.
Hey Sue, how are you?
I am fabulous and I am so thrilled that Next Evolution is a part of the Evolve Alliance group. And I was thinking before we got on here, how would I capture what it is that you do in a really, really simple sentence? And I came up with you guys help to maximize human performance through the use of neuroscience. Do you like that?
Boom. I might just steal that
Boom.
and use that in our marketing.
I know that, there's so many firms that will spend money on CPD for their advisors and they'll get them training around product and around advice. We actually often do hear staff that are not financial advisors within firms complain that they're not the recipient of any structured training because they don't have to have CPD. So they get a little neglected. And I see the difference in the firms that do see this as a great investment, as a part of their, I guess, their calendar for education for their team, but also a bit of giving back because the human element of that, if you can empower your team with the knowledge that you share, that's actually taking care of them as people as well, not just with a specific focus on getting a better outcome for the business. Is that a fair point?
It's so true. And you raise a really great point there, Sue, about there's actually a thing called work home stress spillover. It's a thing, and I came across it during my dissertation research. And so it's one of these things where it really does help not just what's going on at work, but if we can manage our lives better, if we have less stress outside of work, then we have less to bring inside of work and vice versa. So it works both ways. There's this bi-directional spillover. And so if we can help people with these tools that can help maximize their performance both in and out of the workplace, and let's face it, with so many people working in a hybrid environment now, the lines have become blurred. And so people are getting this working from home burnout. And the thing is, as advisors, you need to be able to offer some form of hybrid environment to attract great staff these days. So we need to understand, what does the hybrid environment do to cognitive energy? Cognitive energy is just a fancy word for mental energy, but it's a thing. We've only got like 4 hours of heavy cognitive energy available to us each day. So that's not great news, but it's great news for people who know how to really capitalize on that. So yeah, so it's a thing. And the more that we can teach people about this, the greater benefits we have both inside and outside of work. And why not help your staff just be better humans?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Invest in them. So do you know what? That's a really lovely segue for us to just play a testimonial and hear from one of your clients that has utilized your services. So let's hear. I think we're going to be hearing from Brett Roberts.
Hi, I'm Brett Roberts from Arrive Wealth Management in Brisbane.
Tell us about your engagement with Next Evolution Performance.
Arrive engaged Next Evolution Performance and Vanessa specifically to undertake some workshops for our staff to understand how their brain works and how to better get more performance out of their day. Basically work smarter, not harder. And this was at a time when we were looking to transition our own AFSL, and we were investing in system and process efficiencies, and where our firm was lacking was in our staff and how we help them become more efficient as we lead into the new business.
So how did working with Next Evolution Performance help your business?
Initially, it was great to see the staff firstly just understand how they work and how they could take control of their own calendar and their own time and their own decisions again. And what led from that was a better understanding of how can we be more efficient with our time, firstly. And secondly, COVID hit. And during that period, it sort of transitioned into everyone working from home and starting to use Vanessa to have workshops monthly to check in with our staff, because the whole idea of what we were working on through our workshops of more efficiencies in the office flipped on its head, and everyone's now working from home, and the game completely changed. So we started to do sessions around how do we work smarter and more efficiently when we're at home and when we're not sitting beside our colleagues. And as Queensland came back into the office, we continued our coaching workshops as we do today, and we focus on different areas of efficiency in the business and any issues that the staff have that I'd like to talk about in a group setting.
Would you recommend working with Next Evolution Performance to other advisors?
Arrive would absolutely recommend Next Evolution Performance to other advisors. The help that Vanessa's been able to give our business in gaining control of our time back, everyone understands time is very precious, and we've implemented a number of small pragmatic changes to our business that have allowed us to take control of the calendar, take control of our time, and start to spend more time servicing clients and less time procrastinating and wasting time doing things that don't mean anything to the business. And all of our staff have greatly appreciated the investment Arrive's made in their well-being and their work life.
So that was a really great example of one of your clients, Ness. And it really struck me listening there that it isn't unusual that even in senior roles, you're taught how to do your job. Like, this is how you use the software, or this is how we engage with our clients. No one ever actually teaches us how to work. How do we structure our diary? How do we structure our day? And well, no one until we get Vanessa Bennett and Next Evolution Performance in, right?
Exactly.
So what are the problems, I guess, that you solve, other than getting inside our heads and helping us being much more effective? Where are you seeing that the problems that advisors are coming to you with that you help them with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know what? There's so many of them. It's crazy. Often when we run workshops, sometimes we'll start a workshop so that we can really sort of hone in on exactly the pieces that are going to be most relevant for people. Excuse me. Often we will start a workshop with saying, okay, lay it all out on the table. I've got the whiteboard handy, and I say, tell me everything that just drives you a little bit bonkers about managing staff. Everything from hiring them to...
Only one whiteboard?
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. And it's kind of like, they're like, really? Only one? Like, do you want them in alphabetical order? And so, because let's face it, like, advisors are accidental leaders. Advisors were really good advisors, and they're great with people, and they want to be in front of clients. Leadership was not really the main thing that they signed up for. And so therefore, a lot of these things kind of go by the wayside. And it's really interesting when we get out on the whiteboard, and believe me, it does not take too long to fill a whiteboard. 10 minutes is about our average. and so we fill the whiteboard and we come up with things like lack of accountability. You know, they say they're going to get something done by a certain time and it's not done. And you're like, where is it? And there's always some plausible excuse as to why it's not done. But the point is, it's not done. And so that then puts pressure on other people in workflow, right? It could put pressure on the advisor who's about to meet with a client, could put pressure on other people depending on what part of the workflow is being missed. So there's accountability that's a problem. Sometimes it's even just mindset and general attitude. You know, there's always, I think everyone at some point in time has worked with someone who was quite negative, and, you know, that became a bit of a cancer on the business, and that ended up taking a lot of energy from other people. So it could be the mindset that they work in, it could be their own mental health. That's like if different people have got different levels of mental health and mental fitness, you know, when you start to go into that sort of mental ill health spectrum, that does start to affect how they show up at work. And then I'm sure many advisors have had situations where it's like, I feel like I'm running a kindergarten and I feel like I'm dealing with, you know, everyone's personal problems. And so, you know, that starts to drain energy of people. And then we see this idea of even just productivity. People are like, why is it taking them so long to get that done? You know, I feel like they're working okay, but I'm just not seeing the results that I would expect in that particular time. And so there's a whole myriad of these kind of things that can be around productivity, how they structure their days, even just sick leave. Like, sick leave is really costly to a business where people are, you know, either with mental ill health problems, or just even sick with like colds and flu and, you know, whatever else happens to be floating around these days. Generally speaking, if you've got a lot of sickness from a certain person or a couple of people in your business, that's generally a sign of stress that's not being channeled effectively, because stress depletes your immune system. And so it's a surefire way just to go, sometimes I'll go in and I'll just say, just show me the sick leave records. You don't even have to put the names to the employees, just give me numbers. And I'll be able to say, that person's a problem, that person's a problem. And it's not that we need to get rid of them. I'm certainly not saying that, but there's a lot of things that we can do to help them to be able to be more effective and to manage their energy better, so that they're not forcing themselves into this stress zone. It also comes down to psychological safety. So many people in a business, if we don't know how to communicate with people really articulately and really effectively, and we see that in the Zoom environment all the time right now. It's like, people don't know what's going on in that person's room, let alone 5 people's rooms sitting on a screen. And so all of these kind of things are happening, and it's really affecting people's psychological safety. So if people don't feel psychologically safe in their workplace, for whatever reason, it could be from deadlines, it could be from other people, the way that they're interacting with, all of this kind of thing, that means that they're now spending cognitive energy being angry or upset or concerned. They're not spending that cognitive energy on just doing the work. So, so all of these things, affect the way that that the human productivity side of the business is getting done. And generally speaking, when people come to us, they're like, "Oh, we're really busy, we need more staff." And I go, "You don't. All right, you need the staff that you have to come to work with their full gamut of what we call energy credits, having the full gamut of cognitive energy, know how to spend it wisely." So many people churn through cognitive energy that they're getting exhausted. Once you get exhausted, behavior goes down, people get a little snippier. Once people get a little snippier, and it could be caused from stuff outside of the workplace, but once people get snippy, they get snippy at someone else, and someone else gets snippy back. And next thing you know, it's World War III, and it was all because someone shot off an email quickly because the dog just threw up beside them. So there's so many things where the brain hates ambiguity, and it just puts one and one together and gets 5. And no good comes of that. So we need high performance cultures which are clearly articulated. We need to make leadership as easy as possible for leaders who don't want to be full-time leaders. So if we can set up really great frameworks, that's going to help you hire the right people, help you to train the right people, and coach the right people in a way that feels effortless, so that they are performing to your definition of high performance in a really psychologically safe way. They shouldn't have to work heaps of overtime to get the same amount done. Things should feel effortless. So if we can make leadership as easy as possible, let's do that, so that you can get great results from your staff. Like your staff need leadership, but you can make it harder or easier. So let's make it easier.
Indeed. And we see that from a business coaching perspective quite often when we're looking at productivity and efficiency in a business. And we might come in and help them look at their processes and their technology that they're using. And so often, yes, we can improve some of those procedures, and we can set up some threads and workflows. And the return on investment that a firm will get by helping their staff know how to manage their day and manage their minds better, it's I was going to say it's surprising. It is to me. It is somewhat surprising to see that firms and owners will, and look, sometimes it's because that's the excuse people have. Well, I couldn't do that because that person didn't do that, or because the system wasn't working, or because I had to sit on hold with someone for too long. Yes, sometimes there absolutely are those physical problems within a business that cause delays. And a lot of them will get solved too if you empower your people to be able to work better, not just the tasks that they do, but work their own mind better. You put the two together, and it's so, so powerful. So why don't we get into...
It's communication. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So if people communicate better, we can be really mindful of like when things are due and that kind of thing. It's like, even if something does happen that there's an excuse that kind of comes up, well, it shouldn't be the deadline that someone hears about that for the first time. So how do we put systems and processes around the communication side of things that really helps all of that?
Yeah, so true. So let's get into the kind of services that you have. How do you actually help with this?
Yes. So, so it's reasonably bespoke. We don't want to be having people signing up to, tens of thousands of dollars when they might not need that. I get some people who might engage with me. So, for example, I had one of the clients that I was working with. He runs a financial planning practice of 5 people. We started at the time when he was exhausted. He had one foot out of the door with the business. He was, trying to sell it, and just it was terrible. Anyway, he was like, no, but there's parts that I like. So I'm like, okay, what can we hold on to with that? Anyway, so we got his energy right. And he had sort of this mindset of like, I've been taught to work hard, and am I a failure because I'm not working hard? And it's like, you know what? The world needs more laziness. I know that sounds crazy, but people make things harder, way harder than it needs to be. So it was almost like we gave him permission to structure his life and his work in a way that was going to be easier for him. So we did that, and we helped him with, he needed another person to do certain things. He was kind of wavering on what type of person that was going to look like. We helped him kind of define what that should be, how to, really set a great job description for that person, and get that person involved. That person's been an amazing fit. The team are humming. He is now up 15 to 20% in revenue in 4 months of working with each other. And that was one coaching program for him. Didn't even do any staff workshops or anything like that. He then felt empowered to have the tools to then go and do that with his team. He's like, awesome, changed my life, good to go. So we've done that with him. I worked with another business which was a bit bigger. They had 9 people, but they didn't have the right people doing the right things at the right time. They had a bit of negativity in there, and that was causing an issue because people weren't working on the things that really brought them joy and meaning. So anyway, we again in the position where it's like, we're so busy, we need more staff. Hold on, hold fire on that. Cool your jets. And then it turns out that we ended up, 2 of the people ended up leaving, which was not a bad thing because they were not doing what they should have been. They were expensive. So that ended up saving $250,000 a year in salaries. They restructured the other staff so that other staff could step up. We found out what they really wanted to work on, how to structure that. And in amongst all of that, then the leader of that business was then able to go out and spend way more energy getting more clients, which is what they wanted to do, rather than, babysitting kindergarten and trying to lead blindly. So we saved $250,000 in salaries, and we got the other people doing what they should have been doing. The advisor could go out and get more clients. So profits increased by about 50% per month.
Fantastic.
And we worked together for,
Sorry, I was going to say, so that was a one-on-one engagement with the principal, or you came in and did some work with the team as well?
Exactly. We did some more things with them. So we did 2 lots of workshops. We had some individual sort of express coaching sessions with individuals in the team. And that was really useful for me to kind of work out, okay, what do people actually really want to do and where some of the issues were. Now, while those things are obviously very confidential, I go back to sort of the leader and go, well, actually, we've got a few key themes that we can probably work with here. And so I did 2 coaching programs for the leader back to back because we were still sort of implementing. So, and I was working with them for probably about 6 months in total over the course of doing a couple of workshops with them and 2 coaching programs. So a little bit more on the investment. But, when you're looking at saving that kind of money and increasing profits by that amount of time, that's 7 figures over 5 years.
Fantastic. And so when you say a coaching program, is it a set number of sessions and then you design it to suit the business, or it is a set program agenda?
Yeah, so we do a half-day fact find for all of these. So we want to know what's going on inside of work, outside of work. Sometimes the energy drains might not be in your practice. Might be, but maybe not. So I just kind of need to know where they're going. So we do a half-day fact find, and then we do another 3 sessions, which are on Zoom, face-to-face, and they are about an hour each time. And then they're a month apart, and then we have a weekly check-in phone call, and they go for about 20 to 30 minutes each. But it's just so we can just do little bite-sized chunks and implement like little bits because if we only talk to you once a month and we give you 89 things to do, you won't do any of them. So, so we just do bite-sized chunks, and that means it can be really bespoke. So it's really sort of, we're quite rigid in terms of the frequency because that just works. But the actual content that we go through and the coaching program and the information that we cover, that's very bespoke to different people. We have so much content, obviously, but not everyone needs everything. So we want to make sure that we don't give you more than you need, and so that you can really focus on implementing that. So that program goes for about 3 to 4 months, depending on scheduling. So if you go away for a week, then obviously we press pause and come back and away we go. So generally around 3 to 4 months, and we're generally talking roughly on a weekly basis. And so
Great.
often, that's often a lot of all people need, to be perfectly honest. And then some people, depending on the size of the team and depending on the issues that we're starting with the team and how much we're fixing. But, I love working with people that are just starting out. I'm like, get this stuff right before you have anything to fix.
Yes.
In which case, one coaching program, good to go. We then, the bigger the business, the bigger the issues, it obviously is going to take more. Now, the return on investment is still incredibly high, given that example that we just spoke about, and it's still worth it, but, it will take more of your time and energy to fix. And once you've got firms of, 10, 15, 50, 100 people, and we've got to start looking at culture change and things like that, culture change gets harder. All right, as you've been letting certain things go without holding people to account on certain behaviors. We've got a program we call Key Behaviors, Activities and Mindset. So it's not just your KPIs you need to be worrying about with people. Love the kabamis. We've got to look at all of that in terms of like, how are people showing up? How are people behaving? How people are interacting with each other? All of these kind of things. So if we get that right, and you know what? It's seemingly simple to get it right. Now, there's a bit to it to do it really properly, but we make it as easy as we possibly can. And so that you're coaching people in a way that really makes change as easy as possible. And people will buy into it because it's going to create an environment that everyone feels safe and loves showing up to. So imagine if everyone bounded in every day and like super excited to be there, and how would that feel? So that's kind of what we work with.
And thank you. And I know that you do some group workshops as well. So digital, I know that there's something that people can book into individually, and they'll be with a group of randoms. Am I right?
Yes.
As well as something you can do for a firm. How do they work?
Exactly. Yeah, so we call the difference between open and closed workshops. Okay,
Right.
So a closed workshop is where a business hires us and it's just for their staff, or some people bring us in for their clients, but let's just focus on staff. So so they bring us in for their staff, and it's very much focused to them. So we go through certain content. The content will vary as to what their issues are. It's very bespoke. We have a tell us what are the problems that you have, and then we kind of work out a way that's going to be best to fix it in a workshop environment. We might roll it out over a series. It might just be a half-day workshop. It really just depends on where we're at and where we want to go. So it's almost like doing a little bit of an audit first, and then where we need to go. So that would be a closed workshop, and that's where it's just for your staff and for your business. The open workshops, a couple of big reasons that we started doing those was because there was a lot of small businesses, like a lot of people starting out. And like I said, we want people to get this right from the start. So we run open workshops. At the moment, they're about twice a year, but they've been quite popular. So we're looking to put a few more of them on. And this is where we sort of split it up into 2 sections. We do productivity on one time, and we do mindset and coaching accountability and coaching mindset in others. For the second part. And so that just means that if you're a small business and there's no point, like you just want to bring 1 or 2 people along, that is a great, really cost-effective way to get access to a lot of our content. It won't be as bespoke, but it's still pretty good. and you'll still be able to learn from other people. You'll probably meet some great other people in there as well. Most of them are in financial services, so you may as well come along. And it's a really great way for smaller businesses to come along. That said, we also get a lot of larger financial planning and accounting firms coming along, because if they're looking to get a taste or experience what we're doing, it's a really great cost-effective way. Instead of me just telling you how awesome we are, why don't you come and experience it?
Yeah.
So it's a great way to come and have a little bit of, just come and have a snack, have a little snack with us, and you'll get some great information. Even if you never see us again, that might be all you need. But it also is a really great way for you to kind of go, that would be really good for that, and for maybe we should do that with that team, and oh yeah, maybe that's an issue with this. And then that starts to create the framework for us to go, okay, out of that, what really resonated, right, let's work out what your bespoke program might be for you.
Excellent. And I know, just because I'm privy to some of the stuff you've been working on, especially over lockdown, the on-demand online
Yes.
training.
That's
Can you
right,
talk about that?
exactly. So we have one of our courses, the neuroscience of getting more done. How good does that sound?
I love it. We all need a bit of
So
that.
we all need a bit of that. So we have an online training platform. So nextevolutionperformance.com is our main company platform, but we developed nextevolutionenergy.com, and that is our online training platform. So if you really don't want to sit on Zoom with a whole bunch of other people or a whole bunch of other randoms or whatever, and you just kind of want to get a bit of a bite-sized chunk of what we do, have a little snack, we have an online course, which at the moment is just that one. So it's just the neuroscience of getting more done. We haven't gone into the mindset and all of that kind of stuff yet. We'll get there. Had to finish my master's first. This one came out when I
Yes.
had a study break. So
Just a little kind of thing you've had
so
on your plate.
that's right, exactly. So we've got more attention to give to that now. But this one is great. It's one of our signature courses. It's really popular. It's all about cognitive energy. How do we help you to understand cognitive energy? What gives it to you? What drains it? How to maximize it? How to use it sparingly? Basically, how to stop giving it away. So, so that's a really great way for people to do that for themselves. We also get businesses who then use that as an induction, part of their induction program for new staff. They can either give them the online platform, or they can send them to an open workshop, so that they can still catch people up on the content without feeling like they're going to be left behind, but without obviously doing the whole, oh, let's have a workshop for one person. No one wants to do that. So, so there's many different ways that we can then start to work with you in terms of helping us to be part of your induction program, which saves you all of this. What, with all due respect, we'll do it better than you will. So, so
No doubt.
why not let us do the hard work for you, and work out different ways that are going to work for your business, depending on the size, and how often you're hiring staff and things like that. And we then also do like little topical things like hybrid working. How do you maximize cognitive energy in a hybrid environment? How do you overcome this concept called continuous partial attention? Kind of like this digital presenteeism, when people are kind of there, but they're kind of not. So all of these kind of things, how do we do that in an online environment? So we have access to all of these beautiful things that we can help you with in a topical environment. We're seeing a lot of advisors now fall into the trap of hiring staff who are really tired and burnt out, and it's costing them a fortune. I've seen companies now who and businesses who have been, they go through all of the expense of hiring someone, they train them up, 8 weeks later they're diagnosed with some form of mental health problem, or burnout, and they have to take 6 months off. And a lot of them end up resigning, or you're left with a tricky employer situation of, well, what do we do about this? And it's taking everyone else's energy. It's awful. It's energy depletion is one of the biggest global things that people are going to be facing. So it's not even, attracting and keeping staff just got a whole lot harder if chances are you're hiring someone who's already exhausted. It's terrible. So, this is something to watch out for as well, as if hiring staff wasn't hard enough to start with.
I know, right? That's yeah. One of most people's least favorite things to do. Well, thanks, Ness. You know, I was going to ask you specifically the tangible benefits advisors receive, but you've sort of dropped that in all the way along. There most definitely is that physical, measurable return on investment, increase in profitability and productivity in a business, and I do love that intangible piece too. You know, people feel more valued. They're thankful that their employers actually supported them in how to get the most out of their life and their brain.
And that's right. And I think, you know, one of the biggest reasons that we're seeing in terms of like a lot of experts from different business schools and neuroscientists at the moment are kind of looking at things where they say, you know, one of the biggest reasons for the Great Resignation is that people are exhausted. And this was the same thing that was happening during the global financial crisis. You know, we saw the same thing. People were just exhausted. And this is something that is just completely avoidable. You know, the sickness that comes with it. And, you know, if you can help people do their best work, know what's expected of them and help them to work on their strengths. And so long as people do 20% of their days on work that they find meaningful and brings them joy, they pretty much get rid of their chance of burnout.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So, you know, if we can help people lead teams where people are doing this and we're getting great leadership outcomes for the least amount of leadership effort required, you know, let's really help leaders to focus on, okay, how do we become great leaders really efficiently? And how do we make it so that staff are enjoying the work that they're doing? You've hired the right people, and they're not getting burnt out, and they've got plenty of energy to use. You know, that just makes such a difference to your staff turnover, which is super costly to business. It makes a massive difference to your profitability because you can actually focus on getting clients and dealing with clients instead of running
The fun
kindergarten.
stuff. Yeah.
And you know, it saves on both sides. It saves on the employee costs, but it also increases return on profitability. So it's a thing. We just do the humans.
Sure is.
That's it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I do love it. And so I'm sure what is in people's minds is, well, that's all great. I'm going to get a good return on investment, but what is the investment? What do you charge? What are we looking at?
Yeah. Absolutely. So our prices are currently under review at the moment, but at this stage, we've got our coaching programs run between $6,000 and $8,000 for one-to-one, and our workshops roughly, depending on how people want to split it up, but a half-day workshop could be around $4,000, and if they want to split that up to be delivered more in bite-sized chunks, which is more effective, it costs a little bit more to do that. So so that's kind of where we're at the moment. We're probably looking to increase those a little bit because we haven't increased those prices in like 6 years, and we were about to do it in the financial year ending June 2020, and we didn't think that was kind of the time. So
possibly not.
So
and
we are looking to focus on that. Yeah.
That's and seeing the results that it gets for businesses, I'd absolutely advocate it. You will get the return on investment. In fact, one thing that we haven't really touched on is the opportunity cost for not doing it. I've seen firsthand in some of my clients. Well, actually, no, there are multiple. One springs to mind, but there's multiple businesses where they have had staff in there that have had mental health situations or mental ill health, as you so aptly put it, and the impact on the business was just tremendous. And not only from a financial perspective, but the mental health of the principals trying to manage people through it, and then trying to manage others who are impacted by the behaviors and I mean, you know, we're in a people business, right? Most advisors love people. That's why they do what they do. And when you see your staff suffering and then the impact it has on others, it's really awful. So if you are able to get ahead of that and get some really great tools and strategies for your team to be able to use so they don't hit that burnout stage, it's so powerful.
It really is. And you raised such a great point there. So, you know, it's so costly and in behavior. And the problem is, you know, I always say to people, like, the fastest way to lose high performing staff is to tolerate average performing staff. You don't want to lose your high performers, but you can't be tolerating things that are going on from average performers if you want to keep them, because they get frustrated. And so there's the cost, and generally speaking, it takes you about 2.5 times a person's salary to replace them. So if you've got someone that's pretty good, and you want to keep them, do the maths on what you're paying them. Imagine if everyone came to work and they had an extra 2 hours of effective time per day. All right. If you have even 4 staff, that's like getting an extra person for free.
Yeah.
Do the math on that. Like this is big stuff. Why wouldn't you do that? And so, this is a super cost effective way to get some great value there. And of course, we love Elixir and we love Evolve Alliance. So whatever our prices are on that, everything across the board. So whether it's our online courses, our open workshops, any of the closed workshops, bespoke coaching programs, all of that, 10% off for being an Evolve Alliance member.
And we love that support for our membership as well. Thank you, Ness. So for those listening, if you are an Evolve Alliance member, all you need to do is log into your portal. You'll find the Next Evolution Performance page within the Provider Member section, and there will be details there how to utilize the coupon and access that special benefit. Of course, if you're not an Evolve Alliance member, you can, of course, go directly to Vanessa as well, but then also check yourself, and maybe you should be an Evolve Alliance member, because there's so many fabulous benefits from being so. Look, Ness, I think we've nailed it. We've wrapped that pretty well. It's been a great explanation of what you do. As I say, knowing a number of my clients who've utilized your services, I can attest to the strength and power of them, and I thank you again for the work that you've done with them. Is there anything else that you think we should cover off before we go?
No, I think that's it. I think, we just want everyone to have access to this in some way, shape, or form. It's such important work. And honestly, it really does. I love it when people just say this just changed the game completely. People just, and sometimes people just go, it was just the littlest changes that really just had the biggest results. We try to make this as easy as possible for people. But honestly, like so much sickness, and it's physical, it's not just mental sickness, it's physical sickness, it's awful. Like, we just need to stop this. And B, it's really costly for business. And it's really interesting, you'll get people who talk about mental health problems and how that's been an impact on their business and having staff in that. But, there's a continuum. You don't just go from mental health to a mental ill health diagnosis. There's a lot of people that are playing in that continuum where they're not experiencing full mental health. And you might not know that there's they're called what we call subsyndromal. They don't technically have a definition and a diagnosis at this point, but there's so many people that are playing on that spectrum where they're not experiencing full mental health. And we call it a bit meh. There's meh, and it's like, meh is okay. Like, it's totally fine to feel a bit meh. We all feel meh here and there, but you don't want to be camping out there, and you don't want to be there for a long time, and you don't want a bucket load of staff sitting as meh. That's not good. So let's get rid of meh. Let's get back to energy and excitement, and let's help you fall in love with your business.
How about you give us the background of who you are, Next Evolution Performance? Give people a bit of an understanding of the company if they've not met you before.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started in business about 9 years ago. So my background is financial services, and I used to work in funds management sales before I started doing this. And I was doing that during the global financial crisis. And I'm very pleased to say we hit all of our targets. I was using a lot of these kind of principles that I'd learned in other sources, because I also work in the fitness industry part-time. And I was using a lot of these kind of concepts around human performance in managing my team, but also just managing myself and staying sane. It's the process, and having this big job and not getting burnt out. But I saw a lot of people that were getting burnt out, not necessarily people that I worked with specifically, but people in other companies, and burnout was just rife. It was awful. People getting sick unnecessarily. People were not as productive as they could have been. People were just working hard instead of actually working smarter. And I think, even as we get more and more information around neuroscience, there's more ways that we can understand how to do this better. And so I was 95% sure I was onto something, and I was 5% wetting myself. But I'm like, I'll take that.
That's good.
That's probably about the right ratio to start with. And I was very lucky. About 6 months before I was looking to leave anyway, I met who is my now business partner, Alex Davids. She's based in Auckland. She was based in the UK at the time. So we've got a very global focus. And we've now got a great coach up in Singapore who works with us as well. So, and then many people will at some point in time meet Karen, who we call our captain of logistics. So she helps, managing all the diary and travel when we used to do that, because that used to be a thing. And so getting us to, yes, I know. So that's our team now, but we're very focused on helping people achieve more with less effort, without the burnout, and just making leadership easier as well. These are things that we weren't taught at school and at uni and as part of our education. So it's like people don't even realize that this is a thing. And the more that we can get out of ourselves and out of our teams by maximizing human performance, it makes hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of difference to your bottom line as a business owner. So if we can learn how to do this and to lead people better, it's a really great thing.
Oh, what a perfect way to end. Thank you so much, Ness. And for those of you wanting to contact Next Evolution Performance, all of the contact details are in the show notes beneath here. We look forward to continuing to help you do fabulous things in your business. And Ness, I know you and I will work together again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.